welcome back to the All Hazards Prepper Show, your go-to spot for all your disaster prep information and how to survive wild SHTF scenarios. Plus, we'll chat about the chaos of the world, throw in weather updates, and cover any topics the All Hazards Prepper has in his head this week. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform and join us on social media. Now, let's welcome your fearless leader and the brains behind the All Hazards Prepper, Blake.
All Hazards Prepper Show. I'm your host, Blake. Grateful that you have joined us back for another week of the All Hazards Prepper Show. Today, we have some exciting guests on. Today, we have Mason, who is my brother, and his girlfriend, Joey. Today's show, we're going to focus on how to protect your home and your person, not only during disasters, but also during blue sky days. Today, we will discuss some firearms that can protect yourself, as well as alternative ways that you can protect yourself and your family other than using a firearm. So, a little bit of background on Mason and Joey. Mason and Joey are both U.S. Army veterans who were stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, and were combat engineers during their time in the U.S. Army. During their careers as combat engineers, their focus was on mobility and survivability of friendly forces while impeding the movement of enemy forces. Mason, who is my brother, like I said, is a lifelong gun enthusiast and also a fellow prepper. Joey is currently a range safety officer at a large ranch in Texas. She currently is pursuing her degree in firearm technology with hopes of becoming a gunsmith. She is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, strong supporter of concealed carry, especially for women, and also a fellow prepper. Joey also has quite a bit of a social media following regarding her expertise on firearms and firearm safety. So we'll be sure to tag her in the show notes as well. Both currently are residing in Texas as well, like I said. So super glad to have them on the show today. But Mason and Joey, thank you for coming on. This was kind of something we threw together last week. I was talking with Mason and talking about how the podcast was going, and he really wanted to come on, and Joey really wanted to come on, and we just kind of started talking about what we could talk about. And well, they are both, I will say, and Joey's pretty active on social media. Mason, not so much, but Joey's very active on social media. I'll make sure to drop her handles down on the bios below. But definitely super glad to have them on. Mason and Joey, maybe Mason starting out, talk about prepping and your interest in firearms, maybe where that came from. I know where it came from, but maybe talk Mason first, and then we'll go with Joey.
Hello, I am Mason, Blake's brother. Where it all really started out with the interest in firearms and prepping was just growing up. Our father and our uncle, they were all into it, and our grandpa as well. That's really where it all started, and that's where me and Blake kind of got it from, just growing up. Including firearms also. We started at a young age learning firearm safety and using firearms for recreational purposes, just to shoot for fun, and got that skill and hobby from there. And then the Army as well, that was a big one also. Got to use a lot of different cool firearms while I served. But yeah, that's about it. Joey, you want to go ahead?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Joey. So growing up, I never really grew up with firearms. My first time ever shooting and handling a firearm was in basic training, and I was pretty nervous because almost everyone around me has either shot a gun their whole life or like pretty knowledgeable about it. But I kind of found my love for firearms while I was in the Army, and then after I got out, it was kind of this big thing of just self-protection, because for reference, I'm 5'2", 119 pounds soaking wet. So, this kind of evens out the playing field for me. So I'm a very, very big advocate for concealed carrying for women, as well as just learning how to protect yourself and like with any other equipment.
Yeah, and Joey, that's great. And Joey has an interesting background. She just became a U.S. citizen. Congrats! Just a few months ago.
Thank you,
You're
thank you.
originally from the Philippines. Yep. So she was able to just get her U.S. citizenship all into the concealed carry life, and definitely promote some good products and good things. Yeah, great intros there, Mason. Great intro. Yeah, we just growing up, I don't even know what age dad took us to a piece of land and we just started learning how to shoot. It was very young.
Very
You
young.
know,
Yeah.
it was really, this is a kind of a safety thing. Let's learn about this because I have it in my house or in his house. So we want to learn, he wanted to teach us about gun safety. And then we just kind of prospered from there. I went to NRA classes over the summer several times. I think Mason might have as well. We never really were big hunters. We did a little bit of it, but we didn't really, we didn't have the attention span to hunt. That's what I always said. We go out and shoot with dad and grandpa and our uncle as well. And just kind of over time, it has just kind of flourished into, really, I'm not trying to make this into a gun show or anything, but it's really, I want people to understand that there, other than guns, there are some other ways. If you don't want to go buy a firearm, if you don't feel comfortable buying a firearm, or you can't, maybe can't afford it, it's kind of costly. There are some other ways to protect yourself. Being prepared is not just about natural disasters. It could be, someone just comes to the door and they want to harm you and your family, or
Yep.
during a disaster, if they know you're a prepper. Even during a hurricane, I've heard of incidents where, during natural disasters, people are coming and, trying to take, other people's stuff during disasters. The playing field of normalcy, definitely, if it hasn't already gone, it really deteriorates during disasters. The law and order could disaster, and we can look at past disasters. Look at Katrina, some of these other, even just recent hurricanes. After the storms, you can hear people going into houses, ransacking people's houses and taking just valuables and stuff because they've evacuated or whatever. So we're gonna start off. I got some few questions for them. We kind of talked about this week, but Mason and Joey, what for home protection? This every old run of the day home protection. What are some we'll talk about firearms first, and then we'll kind of go into alternative methods. But and Mason, we'll start with you, and then Joey, you can kind of feed in. But what do you feel like if you're going to own a gun, what should you own? And if you don't want to own a gun, what's some alternative ways of protecting your home from intruders or somebody trying to trespass or trying to steal it from you?
So starting with firearms, I would suggest a shotgun, any form. I would prefer a pump personally, just because one, they're reliable, and two, if say a intruder does come into your home and you rack the shotgun, that's probably the scariest sound that a home intruder could hear, and that would instantly cause them to flee. Another thing about shotguns is you could put a different type of ammunition in it also. There's birdshot, you could do a rubber round, like less than lethal round. There's lots of different ways to go ammunition for a shotgun. And it all depends about, I guess, your home too. You don't want to use an AR because if you have several people in your home, they could go through walls.
Yeah, good points there. Joey, you got anything on home protection with a firearm?
Yes. So to piggyback on everything that Mason said, funny enough, both of us have shotguns on our bedsides and ARs as well, just in case, So I would say about every night we have about 3 to 2 shot or firearms beside us every night. But I think shotguns are one of the best. Like that would be my number one go-to because it's very, very versatile. Next, I think I would consider a PCC, a pistol caliber carbine, just because that it also has larger capacity, but it doesn't have a higher caliber round, such as an AR-15. So that could be easier as well. But I would definitely go for a shotgun.
Yeah, great points there. Yeah, I remember taking an NRA class whenever I was like a freshman in high school, and they made us close our eyes, and then they racked it, and it scares everyone to death. Yeah, I have a shotgun. I live in an apartment, so I try to think about, if someone's coming to the front door, I want something, yeah, that's going to stop them, but also something that's not going to absolutely, to go through them and go through another apartment or
Yes.
go through something like that. So I have a 45 hollow point round, in there, and then I, have my shotgun in my safe as well. And I truly, if you live, kind of in the country, maybe even in an urban environment, I think a shotgun is definitely the one of the best options. I just like my pistol caliber round, because I have a flashlight and a laser attached to it, and I have enough rounds next to me as well to take care of whatever I need to take care of. But great points there. Talk about some alternative ways, in a home defense way. What is some great things? What's some things that you might recommend that are not firearms? I know there's a lot of products out there that are, there's mace, there's tasers. Tasers probably not as good for a home defense type of thing, but from y'all's points of view, what are some things that someone could just alternatively go buy to protect themselves in a home invasion or something like that?
I would say a pocket knife for sure, any type of knife, even like the kitchen knife that you have, anything that you can grab easily, something sharp, something to harm the intruder, as much damage as you can, because ultimately in a home invasion, the main goal is to stop them and incapacitate them to where they cannot go any further with a crime, and we can contact police, whatever the steps are. But I think a knife would be very helpful.
Going base of what? Mason, you got anything on that?
I would agree. Yeah, a knife would be a good one. Mace for sure. Or just another thing to have on your home deter intruders could be motion sensor lights or visible cameras. Even if you don't have a home security system, put one of the fake signs in the yard. Beefing up your door, like your door handles, they come with on the inside of your door mechanism. They come with cheap short screws. You could get longer, better screws just so that it could keep from people kicking in your door as easier. But yeah,
Yeah, good points there. Yeah, I think nowadays, if you are looking for an alternative way other than a firearm to protect yourself in a home, maybe you have a wife or spouse that doesn't feel comfortable using a gun. I know Mason, our mother, as much as we taken her shooting before, she still is not comfortable with it. Even taking her to concealed carry class. There's some mace products out there that have some great reach on them now. I mean, I've heard people using bear spray before, but they make mace that's pretty much in the size of a bear spray can now. And you can keep it right by your bed. I might tag one in my Amazon list that I have. Go check that out. But there's some mace products out there that do a good job. And like Joey said, all you're trying to do is deteriorate that person, to get them to stop that crime. It's keep them from coming in that doorway, or stopping them somewhere near where they entered, and making sure that you can decapacitate them in long enough to call the police and get those first responders en route as well. And like Mason said, I was kind of going to say this for the end of the podcast, but home security is key. Nowadays, you can go on Amazon and pick up just about whatever home security product out there, whether it's a full-on security system. I had a Ring system. I think it's through Amazon. I absolutely love it for an apartment sake. I don't know if I use it in a house. Probably would go with a little bit better, like an ADT or CTI or something. But great for a small house apartment. I put sensors on all the doors. I got glass break. I have a Ring doorbell camera, up so that I can see people that come to the door. Me and my wife are out quite a bit. So we, like to see who's coming by, and, especially in an apartment, see maintenance coming in and stuff like that. I have a small camera too pointing towards the front door. And those, systems are all out there. Even like Mason said, put in a, fake security sign, is a good way to deter people as well. You really, today there's so many people. I work in an area, and we live in an area where there's crime going on all around us. People are breaking into cars. Definitely lock your stuff up. If you're in a car, don't keep gun in there or other valuables. And make sure you lock it every night. But same thing in the house. I think a lot of people are so complacent they just leave the door unlocked, especially if you live in the middle of nowhere. Or even I've caught myself in the apartment once and come in with a bunch of stuff and forget about it, and oh, I forgot to lock the door. Making sure that you are following those types of procedures as well. Mason and Joe, let's kind of move on to some personal protective stuff. I know this is something that Joey talks a lot about on her pages, but maybe Joe, we'll start out with you. What for personal protection? You're out, at a grocery store. You're out, at a bin or something if you can carry. Depends on where you're at. You're just in your car. What are some good firearms and some good alternative methods? But you kind of hinted out the knife there. What's some good ways to protect yourself? Outside of the home.
Yeah. So the first thing in terms of firearms, I would go with either a sub or a micro compact handgun. Either there's a lot chambered in 9mm, 380, 45 auto. I would steer away from 22 as much as possible. It's a good plinking round, but in terms of self-defense, I'm not so sure. So, but yeah, like how people would research about the firearm they're going to purchase, I would look into the different types of ammunition as well. Like you mentioned, you have a 45 handgun and hollow points. Hollow points are specifically made to impact or to expand on impact. So not only is it causing more damage, but it's also quite easier to handle. Quite similar as a ball ammunition, because ball ammunition, that's perfect for target shooting, recreational shooting, but you do have to think about what's around you. It's like one of the basic steps in firearm safety, make sure what your target is and what's behind it, but in certain situations you can't really be sure of what's around you. So for me, it's really important that using hollow points is like an extra assurance that I'm hitting only my attacker and that's it. So it's kind of helpful there. And I would say pocket knives everywhere. I have one in my car, one in my purse, and one on my person every day. So as much as you can, where you can put it, that's perfect. But for mace or like pepper spray, I would use it in a home setting indoors, but outdoors, I wouldn't really recommend it because the wind direction might not be on your side every day. When you spray, it could come in your face. So I would not want that at all. But a taser is a good, less lethal option for self-defense.
Great points there, Mason. You got anything on, personal protection, outside of your home?
I agree with everything Joey said. Another thing that you can use also, other than the things that Joey mentioned, just anything around you, if you aren't carrying a firearm or carrying anything to protect yourself, say you're wearing a belt, you could take the belt off and use that as a weapon also, using the metal piece of the buckle, swinging that around, or any objects around you that you could pick up, like a rock, a stick, or anything.
Yeah,
These always have to be
anything becomes a weapon. Yeah.
It sure
Yes.
is.
Yeah. Great points there. Yeah. And how I look at personal protection too. I am a concealed carry owner or licensed concealed carry carrier. I know, Mason, in Texas, you don't have to have concealed carry, right? But you guys do it. Yeah, that's what I thought. And that's whenever I lived in Wyoming, it was that way as well. But I look at personal protection too. I look at what my threat is and where I am. If I am going into, somewhere that I know that, the threat might be a little bit higher, and somewhere where I might not be able to get to my truck as fast or might not be able to get, out as fast, I might carry, like Joey said, carry like a 9mm, like something subcompact. I have a subcompact Glock. 9mm. If I'm going somewhere, quick into the store or somewhere, I might, if you work or don't have, proper, concealed carry. I'm a fiddle, if you want to call it that. I might carry something a little bit smaller. I carry like a revolver, 380 or something. So I think that's a lot of too with this is knowing your threat level. If you know that you're going in somewhere that's not a best part of town, maybe late at night, and all those factors are added in, that's when you want to be, that not only have that increase of weapon, but also have that increase, self-awareness, and not get tunnel vision and have a situational awareness of what's going on around you. I know whenever I first started dating my wife, she was not. She's kind of like, Mason. She's kind of like mom. Never really was in firearms. Didn't really deal with that a whole lot. And we took her to the range, and she was like, she never shot before. Then she started seeing me concealed carry. She's like, why do you switch? And why do you, and I started talking about, okay, well, this threat's a little bit higher here. And, someone like that or someone, like that is everywhere today. People
Yes.
have no situational awareness. They don't look at their surroundings and go, oh, well, okay, we're in a place where I might need, to defend myself. Get into and people today, have short fuses. I've seen that, everywhere I go. So it's important to have something that, can protect yourself when somebody is, trying to do harm to you. Listen, Joey, wrapping up here, let's talk, about, as a prepper, we'll start with Mason here. Other than guns, what would you want someone to know, and what would you want someone to have other than a gun? Prepping for, the normal run-of-the-mill disasters, especially, you both are from the military. And thank you for your service there. And, what would you, as someone, coming from that background, want someone to know and want someone to have, as a prepper? Mason, we'll start with you.
As a prepper, for sure, medical skills, just having just basic first aid background type thing. That would be a huge one. For sure. Another one, just a food supply. Of course, you need that to survive, or even a water supply. But yeah, those are my two for sure.
Right. Joey, you want to go next?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Mason, and to piggyback off of what he said about like sustenance. I have been stocking up on just water bottles whenever I see a deal on like a 30-pack of water bottles. I just get it, and Mason's always like, "You got more?" I'm like, "Yeah," because you never know. And then we also have a lot of MRE boxes, and for people who don't know what MRE means, it's meal ready to eat. A lot of military personnel use this all the time whenever they're in the field or don't have any access to hot food. It's definitely a good source of sustenance, but definitely medical skills as well. Just to know the basics, how to like patch up, how to stop bleeding, how to use a tourniquet and all that. I think that's very important to know.
Yeah, all things that we preach here on the All Hazards Prepper, medical stuff, and knowing not only having the supplies but knowing how to use it is critical. And then that food and water supply as well. So Mason and Joey, thank you so much for joining us today. I will tag Joey on our pages as well. She's pretty active on the Instagram, and so we'll tag you there. Mason sometimes gets featured in there as well. So thank you guys both for joining us today here on the All Hazards Prepper Show. Definitely we'll try to have you guys on in the future. Make sure everyone to continue to follow us. We're going to take a short break here. I'm going to be back with you, talk a little bit more about self-defense and home protection during disasters. We're going to be right back with you after this short break. Are you tired of your water tasting nasty? Do you wonder, is your water really that clean coming from your city or local municipality? I mean, look at all the water outages and boil water advisories that have occurred over the last few years, and maybe in your community it's occurred so recently. That's why I partner with Water Drop. When we first moved into our place, we realized our water was nasty, and we were tired of fighting with the refrigerator, gallon drum, jug, water filters. So that's why I have partnered with a company called Water Drop. Water Drop sells several under the sink filters that are easy to install just with I was a 10-minute installation. Also, they sell whole house systems, reverse osmosis, even sell little filters that go on your ice maker, your camper, or even an outdoor faucet. So go check them out on the website listed in the podcast link below. Use the code the All Hazards Prepper, again, the All Hazards Prepper, for a 10% discount on any product you order directly from their site using that link. Again, make sure to go check out Water Drop if you want clean water for your home and your family and those that you love. Hey everyone, welcome back from the break. Super glad we have my brother Mason on today and his girlfriend Joey to give their advice, on that personal and home protection. Really, to wrap up the show, I wanted to spend a little time with you discussing two more topics we're going to be covering here this week on the All Hazards Prepper. First, I want to talk a little bit more and digging into protecting yourself and your home following a disaster. People within the community, even outside of the community, may try to take advantage, of the situation that's occurring. As an emergency manager, I've heard stories and actually seen firsthand, really, of this occurring. It's quite sad that people do this, but unfortunately, in today's times, people try to take advantage of people that are going through disasters, going through troubles, going through hard times. And when I was working, out in Wyoming, I talked about that a little bit in my previous podcast. As an emergency manager, I think I talked about, we had a large wildfire burning. We had to do mass evacuations. And well, honestly, whenever we were working that, we had a lot of people that were trying to get into those evacuated areas with no business being in there, with the intent of wanting to steal from others. They knew people's homes were there, knew that possibly, people left in a hurry, that they would be open. The wildfire might have moved through, everything's good, we're going to let people back in. And next thing you know, you got people sneaking by, trying to get into restricted or evacuated areas still. It's hard, especially in a larger community, to really regulate if you're the local police or the emergency management or whoever's overseeing the situation. It's hard to see who's coming and going and have a record of that. And often it's just a common problem that we see following disasters. Especially if your home was damaged. That allows people just to easily enter and possibly, steal valuables from you or, just steal, things that are even outside. That's are common things that happen. With these factors, if you must evacuate before that disaster occurs, say we got an incoming hurricane or, there's a mass evacuation due to a hazmat incident or something like that. Or if you just have to leave, following the disaster, if you've got to ride it out that storm, ride it out whatever you're going through. Utility failures are happening, and it's just not safe for you to stay there anymore. You don't have the means to stay there in your home, and you want to leave. It's important to secure the home in your area, the best you can. First, just making sure that your doors and windows are locked. I mean, when was the last time in general that you went around to your home and made sure that your windows were locked and that they were closing properly? Something, even on a blue sky day that you should probably do. If your home's been damaged and you must leave, like we were talking about earlier, well, then you need to make sure that you're taking your valuables with you. If you have a safe and you feel comfortable putting them in there, you might. I'd just take anything that you cherish and valuable because you don't know when you're going to come back. It could be days, it could be weeks before the utilities get put back on. You just don't know. Or if your home was damaged, it could be a long time before you're back in there. So just go ahead and get what you value out. Trying to board up or block doors and windows, entrances. If you had a tree fall in and there's a hole in the side and people can kind of get in, making sure I would hope somebody wouldn't try to get in if there's a tree falling through somewhere, but you just never know. Criminals nowadays are quite smart and kind of go past the norms of entering a home. So just making sure you do those. It's big to note too, not just a criminal act of physical criminal acts, but fraud also goes up in the wake of disasters a whole lot. We see this every time we have a hurricane comes through, or a severe weather. As soon as that storm pulls through, you got people knocking on your door. Hey, I'll cut a tree. Hey, I'll fix your roof. And you haven't even contacted the insurance company yet. or you haven't even gone out to look at it yourself. So it's important not only just to know that there's physical crime that could go on after a disaster occurs, but that fraud could happen, especially in instances where there are people who think they're entitled to apply for benefits and obtain benefits intended for disaster survivors. And really they're not. It's just important to know that after a disaster occurs, if someone comes to your front door knocking, saying, "Hey, I'll go cut your tree," or "Hey, I'll inspect your roof and see if you need to be replaced, and I'll give you this rate or whatever," I would first contact your insurance company. We're going to do a segment on insurance and on recovery following disasters. I guess a few subject matter. It'll probably be more than 1 week. It'll probably be a couple weeks of content and shows of that. But it's important just to know, after a disaster, not to fall for scams and people that are coming around saying they're going to do things and they scam you out money, or maybe they do it and it was great, but you now can't get your insurance company to pay for it because they were only going to cover this and not that. Really, after disasters, if you have damage to your home, the first thing you need to do is contact your insurance company. Say, "Hey, this is what happened." Take pictures of it. Making sure that they are aware of what happens, and they often will walk you through that process. They will send people out to do that. So we'll do some segments here in a few weeks on that. I did a post just the other day on recovery when we were covering on the last week on the emergency management cycle. There's some great hints in there, great 3 points that I put if you're going through the recovery. But, wrapping up this kind of point here is just know, after disasters, people try to take advantage of you. They know that your community's been impacted. The police, the sheriff's office, whoever's, your local law enforcement, yes, they're there, but they're going to be tied up with a lot of other things during that time. They might not be patrolling as much. They might not be as present as much. Depending on the situation. So it's important to make sure that you take care of your own, take care of your home. Like we talk about here on the All Hazards Prepper, you are your own first responder. So making sure you do that. Second, this week, we're going to be talking a little bit, talking about personal defense, talking about that home defense, and Mason and Joey has some great points with that. This subject will probably be something I go into the next week. To be honest, when this podcast is being recorded, this week I am pretty busy with work. We have some things going on after hours. So, we'll probably continue this topic into the next week, but it's really this topic of everyday carry, or you might hear it called EDC. You're like, what is everyday carry? What does that mean? Blake, why are we talking about, everyday carry? What does that mean? Well, if you've never heard of everyday carry, it's a, really growing idea, really a whole community. There are pages out there for this. Go look it up. But it's essentially what you carry on your person every day to survive the day. If you're just a plain old Joe, not doing a whole lot of prepping stuff, it might just be your cell phone and wallet, and that's, okay. That, if you're like me, the all hazards prepper, you have two phones, a personal and a work. You have your wallet, you have your keys. Sometimes I have two sets of keys on me for work as well. I have a tactical pen on me, a pen, flashlight, a knife, a multi-tool, even carry a tourniquet on me. And of course, I never leave the house without chapstick. That's just something I always have. If you're a chapstick fan, I recently switched to Burt's Bees, by the way. I avoided it for years for whatever reason, and I was like, well, let's see, Burt's Bees is actually a North Carolina company, and I loved it. Should have done it years ago, but it's just important to know that you are, like we talk about, your own first responder, and you really need to make sure that you have some basic items on you to take care of the initial response to whatever you happen. If I'm out in the public, I'm not at work, of course. I'm often having a firearm on me, like we talked about earlier. I am a concealed carry permit holder, and I do so legally everywhere I go. I don't carry at work or don't have it in my truck at work or anything. But I if I'm out in public or going somewhere, I more than likely have one on me. But I always carry a knife. I love the multi-tools. I have several of them. My next purchase is one of the expensive Leatherman multi-tools. Don't know about it. Go check it out. I've had one years ago, but I want a bigger one that has more things on it added to the prepper wish list there. But those are what I carry, on me every day. Really, it helps me, in my job. I might need one of those things. And you may ask, how do you carry all these things, Blake? Well, I wear 511 tactical pants. If you are looking to wear a tactical pant type, I recommend 511. There's tons of other companies out there. I will debate you all day on it. I love 511 tactical pants, and I've tried several others, but 511 is just a way to go. They're expensive, but they are worth it. So that's kind of how I carry my everyday carry. If I just got shorts on, if I'm just, on the weekends, or especially, right now when it's hot outside, I'm carrying most of these things. I might leave the tourniquet at home. I don't really have a whole lot of room for that. I always have a tourniquet somewhere else in a book bag or, close by, but usually have most of those things on me anyway. But like we were talking about with rogue preparedness just the other week, you are the first responder for everything and that you face. Whenever, you face an everyday disaster, or, not a disaster necessarily, but an emergency, it's important to have some tools, on you. I don't know how many times I've run across someone needing a knife or a multi-tool or, a screwdriver, and I have it. Or a pin light. I mean, yeah, I know you got your flashlight on your phone, but I have found that a pin light is way more brighter, way easier to use, and then you don't worry about dropping your phone or whatever, and those types of things. And there's so many different things you can carry on you every day. Every prepper, every person probably going to tell you something different based on their job or what they're doing or what they're preparing for. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit on the All Hazards Prepper, because I think it's important that you have some items on you to take care of whatever you need to take care of during the day. Might be doing a video probably next week on this and going a little bit into what I carry on me. And how I do so. So if you think that you are, are interested in, the everyday carry, go look it up. There's tons of things out there, common sense things to most people, things that, a lot of, outdoorsmen or people that might work construction or, outside wear, but, it's something that everyone should have. If you're a woman and you have a purse, you're even better off because you can carry more. I wish I could carry a man purse around, but I get judged. I do have a little bag, like a little kind of fanny pack thing that I recently bought. That I kind of put some more type of things, some basic meds, some first aid kit, a trauma kit, some other little things, bigger knife and things like that, kind of as a something I quickly carry around or something. If you're a woman, you have the luxury, you have this giant book, you have you want to become that type of everyday carry, you can carry a lot of things in your purse, and most women do. They're pretty prepared. It's amazing what a woman carries in her purse. I remember my mom always carrying around this giant purse, and hey, we need a first aid. Yes, there it is. Any medicine, there it is. It's amazing. But if you're a woman, you get away with a lot more. From a man, I recommend 511 tactical pants. Yeah, I think they're great. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about the everyday carry life. What you need to have on you. If I was going to say, something that everyone should probably have on them is at least a knife or a multi-tool. Your cell phone's pretty critical as well, because, that's a good way to make communication. That's how everyone communicates nowadays. And that's one of the most important things as a prepper, is being able to communicate. But having that knife, having a multi-tool, can save the day in many other ways as well. So that's kind of wrapping up the two topics I wanted to kind of wrap up today on our personal defense and home defense episode here. I hope you enjoyed Mason and Joey on. Different episode, like I said, might be a little bit different than your average prepper. I didn't want to make it too much of a gun type thing, but I want people to know that there are ways other than firearms to protect yourself. Mace and things like that. I added today on my Amazon list to some things that I think that someone might want to purchase. If you're not interested in a firearm, there's a great mace product out there. Actually has this fancy little holder that can be put on the side of your bed, and it has a pretty good reach on it. I think it was like 10 to 15 feet, and it'll spray for pretty while. If you're used to bear, if you've ever seen bear spray, similar to that. So definitely a topic that needs to be talked a little bit more about in the prepping community is that personal defense, that home defense, protecting your preps during a disaster and then on those blue sky days as well. So hope everyone just enjoyed this week. Make sure to subscribe to wherever you're listening to this podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Music. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. So make sure you're subscribing. Leave us a review if you like what you hear. And definitely check out our content. We're going to be doing some exciting things. Got some great people lined up for the next few weeks. So you're not going to want to miss the All Hazards Prepper Show, especially over the summer. We are doing some great things here. And I am really thankful that everyone that is listening in and keeps with me. We're working through our technical and learning everything out, but super grateful for everyone that's joining me here. The All Hazards Prepper out. Have a safe day.